Hey, everybody out there. My name's Caleb O'Hara, coming to you all the way from Ripon, California. And I got with me my buddy Wesley Walker from Nashville, Tennessee. How are you doing today, Wesley?
I'm doing well, Caleb. How are you doing?
I am better. What is it? Dave Ramsey always says, better than I deserve, something like that.
Better than I deserve. Better than our baseball teams are doing so far.
Oh, man. It's been rough. Did you see the A's game today, by the way? That was
I didn't. But the Braves, I think, have won 4 of their last 500 road games. So,
I think that's better than the A's are doing. I'm kind of torn right now because I'm pulling for the Blue Jays because the A's have no chance of winning this year since we traded off or sold away all of our talent. So I'm pulling for the Blue Jays this year. Exciting team to watch. So I've been kind of torn lately because they just ended up a road stretch with the Blue Jays, but they did manage to get swept by the Blue Jays. So I'm torn because I'm happy the Blue Jays are getting further ahead, but I'm upset because my team stinks so bad they got brutalized.
At this point, lose all the games you can, get a better draft pick.
Exactly.
Trade off all your players. That's my Braves thing. If you have a good player, trade him now. He's not helping you this year anyway.
Just
so.
dive.
Yes.
That's the.
And so far they're cooperating. They haven't won 3 games in a row in a while.
They're doing fantastic. In fact, the only A that's performing is Danny Valencia that we got off of waivers from the Toronto Blue Jays, of all people. So
at least you can name a player on your ball club. Right now, I don't know who's playing for the Braves. We just switch guys in and out every other day, it seems like. So,
well, hey, we're not here to talk about baseball, even though we probably could talk about baseball for the next hour. But instead, we're here to talk today a little bit about rapid recharge. But really, for us to be able to understand and tell people about rapid recharge, they need to kind of understand what recharge is all about. And so I thought we'd just give a little bit of brief history about recharge and how it started about 5 years ago. Actually, a little over 5 years ago, we came up with this idea to start recharge. Actually, Dale Jenkins kind of helped to cultivate the idea, and I told him my idea, and he said, why don't you do it? And so I said, all right, let's do it. So we started Recharge in Monterey, California, a workshop that was designed around giving practical how-to information to help people to be able to excel in their service to Christ and in ministry. And we thought maybe, hey, we'll be happy if 20 people showed up. Well, the first year we had it in Monterey, we had over 100 people, and so it just kind of took off from there, and it's grown every year. And then this last year, we had Recharge down in Anaheim, California, on the doorsteps of Disneyland with Mickey Mouse. And you were one of our featured speakers there this year. And in fact, I think this was, your 3rd, 4th year on the program, something like that?
I think it was year number 3, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's been a few years back that way. So I love the change to Anaheim. Being a Disney guy, that was awesome to be right there with Mickey. And the lineup was great. And the format of Recharge, both practical ministry stuff, some Bible study stuff, but also the openness of some time open that you get to kind of tour the area that you're in really gives you a nice recharge. You get both intellectual content that you're hoping for, but you also get the opportunities to enjoy some beautiful areas of California. I lived in California for a few years, and so I miss seeing those things. So it's always nice to head back over to California for a few days and get to see not only people that I like, but also the beauty of the state. So if you're planning on looking at the real Recharge or the full Recharge, I would definitely say make it a family event, kind of a vacation, because it's near touristy stuff, and you will have time to both be recharged in terms of practical ministry and Bible study, and also have time to really see some cool sights down in Southern California. So Recharge to me has got that niche of being a very practical sort of conference. It's not your normal lectureship. It's not simply about going through a book of the Bible or a topic, but it's about what are some nuts and bolts things that you can do that makes you a better minister, Bible class teacher, elder, deacon, whatever it is you do in the work of the church. There's usually some sort of track that'll help you in that way. So
yeah, well, and you'll be excited to know, Wesley, that in 2016, it almost sounds weird to say that.
Is this breaking news live right now?
Yes, this is actually breaking news. We've officially decided that next year, March 15th through 18th, will be the 6th annual Recharge Excellence Conference in Anaheim, California. So we're keeping the conference down in Southern California. It'll be near Disneyland, but a lot of people that aren't from California may not realize that you're really in the hub of a million things to do. You don't just have to go to Disneyland. There's a lot of inexpensive. There's a lot of free stuff that you can do down there. You've got Knott's Berry Farms. You've got Huntington Beach. You've got all the Southern California beaches. You've got Hollywood that you can go and check out.
You can just go on the Interstate 1 and drive, or Highway 1 and drive, and you get all sorts of beauty of California. So I'm a Disney guy, but there's all sorts of beautiful stuff that's free right there in the right near Anaheim. So for sure, for families who are coming and budget conscious, there's plenty to do outside of buying tickets to Disneyland for a few days.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about Rapid Recharge and where it came from and what exactly it's all about and all the different places that we're going to be taking that. Well, let's talk a little bit about Recharge and where it came from. One of the things that we sometimes hear from people is they say, "Man, we'd love to come to Recharge, but we just can't afford it, or it's just too far away, and we can't get the time off. 4 days, 2 days of travel plus the 4 days, we just can't seem to pull it off." So I think it was actually this year at Recharge, we were sitting around, and a bunch of us were talking about, how do we help. What do we do with that? How do we get people to see that it's valuable, that it's worth taking the time off, the vacation time to come out, because it is, as you pointed out, it's genuinely a vacation, and it's also this fantastic seminar at the same time and workshop, and we really try hard to balance that out so that you have time to make it a vacation, but also to get really good information and practical how-to stuff. And so we were sitting there talking about this, and I started thinking, I said, well, what if we go to the people? If the people can't come to Recharge, what if Recharge came to them? Mm-hmm. And thus gave birth the idea of what we now call Rapid Recharge, which is a one-day seminar that's designed around giving you a solid taste of exactly what it is, the kind of things that you get when you come to Recharge. So I'm really excited about this. And it's a really special program because it's a one-day seminar, or one-day workshop that goes from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock for a single day, and we're going to be traveling all over the United States doing these seminars. Our very first one is coming up actually August 18th, so just next Tuesday. You and I are going to be flying into Denver, Colorado, and meeting up with my coworker Wayne Roberts for our first ever Rapid Recharge workshop. And we're actually going to start the day of Rapid Recharge with Wesley Walker.
That's true. I mean, Rapid Recharge really is it's recharge in a day is what it is. So you've got kind of this intense one-day workshop environment, very similar to what you're going to do in California, except it's one day. It's for people who live in the Denver area or people who live in the other areas that we're going to have a chance to get a taste of Recharge, but not just a taste of Recharge, but a chance for them to get some practical ministry help, both in how to study the Bible and also on some communication stuff. So I don't want to view this as a lesser Recharge. It's really just a shorter Recharge. The material's the same. So the same three speakers that speak at Recharge are speaking here. So it's more of a one-day version of Recharge, but not a Recharge light. It's going to be well worth your time to come for that day and grab the information that's being shared, and also the camaraderie amongst the group that'll be in these events as well is well worth it. So
yeah, and that really is a big part of it. It's not even just the material. It really is the experience. It's the time we have to interact together and spend time with each other and share ideas. And one of the things I love about when you and I get together is just talking about what's going on in our works and the things that are working, the things that we're struggling with, and that time to just spend time together dreaming about the future and what we can do for the Lord and what we can do for His church, and to spend that with other like-minded people that believe in excelling, that believe in trying to do better, as opposed to just kicking back and giving up and just saying, hey, well, things are bad, we're just gonna just accept it and let things ride. But we genuinely are a group of people that come together that want to make things better, that want to do more, that want to push each other to excel more. And so that's one of the great things about it, is the whole experience. But part of that experience is the beginning lessons, the digging deeper sessions that start out Recharge, that are going to start out Rapid Recharge too. We do this at the Recharge workshop. We have 2 at the beginning of every day, but we're going to be doing this at Rapid Recharge, and you're going to be coming in and you're going to be leading us in those studies. And this isn't just I want you to talk a little bit about this, Wesley, because this isn't just sit down.
This is not Sunday morning Bible class sort of stuff. It does 2 things. One, we're going to deal with the text, and hopefully I'll give some insights from my study of it that open it up. But it's also modeling. It's trying to help us maybe a model of good Bible study. So, for instance, we're going to do 2 subjects in our 2 hours in Denver. The first one's the book of Matthew. And what I'm trying to show in that is how do you study narrative, which is always a difficult thing for us to put our heads around. How exactly do you take a book like Matthew that's as large as it is and distill its basic theme and how the book flows? And so that's what we're going to be doing in the first session, with maybe some insights into some specific texts, but also just modeling maybe a better way of studying the Gospels. And then the second session is the parables. And in that, what I'm trying to do is my convictions, the parables are these stories that Jesus told so that folks would remember the story and then later reflect upon it. So my kind of approach is, how do we best reflect upon a parable to get out of that particular story the purpose that Jesus had behind it? I mean,
Right.
We have so many of these parables and parabolic sayings and so many sections of the scriptures that simply are just a parable story. How do we make sure that we are taking those appropriately and applying them to our lives? So it's a how-to as well as not just a here's the information, but here's how I got to this conclusion, and here's how you can apply this particular model to other books as well, or other parables as well. And so that's kind of maybe unique. There's not just a sermon where a person's up there and speaking to you about a parable of Jesus, but really someone walking you through and saying, here's how I come to these conclusions, and here's how you can apply this model to other parables. Not just someone coming up and saying, here's Matthew's main theme, but someone going through and saying, here's how we did this in Matthew, and hopefully you can figure it out in other books as well. Or just take that 1 hour session of Matthew and dig deeper into the book of Matthew. So I don't want you to view it as me up there preaching a sermon. This is not what Recharge is about. It's about me walking you through my approach to particular texts in hopes that you will both be informed from the text, but also hopefully pick up on my methodology and be a better Bible student yourself. That's the goal of my sessions, really.
Right, and that really is one of the things that the overtone of the entire Recharge brand is that we're not looking to just give you information, but we're trying to help you so that you can do something better. So it's not just like it's not just like we want to sit here and oh wow, that was amazing what Wesley did with that, and he's helped me to see this passage in ways that I've never seen before. And not that you don't do that, and not that that's not a good thing, but to actually be able to see, man, I see how he did that. Now I can take that same principle, that same approach, that same tool, and I can go into another book like Mark, like John, like 1 Peter, and I can take those same tools and I can better study them on my own.
Yes. And I think that's some peaks here's workshop or seminar, and they think sort of the preaching model lectureship. So if someone's speaking on, for instance, your topics on communication, the expectation for some of us is I'm going to sit down and some guy's going to preach to me on why I'm a terrible communicator. And that's not what Recharge is about. Recharge is very positive about, okay, how do we communicate? And it's more, I think workshop's a better word for it than a seminar or lectureship, because our goal is we're fellow workers in God's kingdom, and we're just trying to share with those who are in our audience some things that have helped us, and not in the here's a sermon on why you should communicate better,
right?
But rather maybe some touch points or helps that say here's how you can communicate better, or here's what we've learned, and maybe you can use this as well.
Right.
In fact, Caleb, talk a little bit about your sessions at Recharge. One's is teaching that connect, and the other one is on shaping your culture. What exactly are you trying to accomplish with those?
Well, the first one is on teaching that connects, and like you mentioned, I'm not going to be talking about why you need to become a better teacher. I'm taking for granted the fact that you realize that you can improve as a teacher. That's why you're coming to the workshop. So I don't want to try to convince you that you need to do better at teaching. I just assume that you already accept that. And myself, I'm always trying to become a better teacher. I'm always trying to become a better speaker. I'm always trying to become a better communicator. So I'm always trying to learn. And we're assuming that when you come, that you're coming for that same reason too. And so what I'm going to do is I'm really going to talk about some things, some fundamental things. As you and I both know, when you usually go to traditional homiletics classes or speech classes, you start out with them telling you, here's an outline, and here's what you do with an outline, and make sure you do this, and make sure you do that, and make sure you do this, and make sure you do this. They tell you all these what to do things, but you've completely passed the why. Like, what are you actually trying to accomplish with your teaching? So the first thing I'm going to do is really try to get us to ask some good questions to determine what it is that we're trying to accomplish. Do we even know what we're trying to accomplish with our teaching? And then secondly, once I've kind of laid a framework of what I believe is what you should be trying to accomplish with your speaking, with your teaching, with your communicating, I'm going to give you some very practical tools. I'm going to give you some step-by-step things that you can do, some tools, some steps that back up the particular approach that we're going to talk about. So it's not going to be, hey, this is, you need to be a better speaker, so spend more time on it. And I'm not going to be regurgitating the same old, 3-point sermon outline. Tell them what you're going to tell them what you tell them what you told them, get out of here and blah, blah, blah. Tell a couple jokes, everybody laughs and moves on. But really, to give you some very specific tools that you can leave Recharge. And when you leave Recharge the next day, you can sit down and you can start implementing these exact steps and the next time you're teaching a class or the next time you're preaching. And really, this isn't just for preachers, Wesley, and this isn't even just necessarily for teachers. It's for anybody that communicates. And as a Christian, if we're going to share the good news, if we're going to preach the good news, that's what communication is all about. So these tools aren't just for preachers or teachers, but really these are tools that anybody can use when it comes to being a better communicator.
I think that's what maybe sets us apart in some degree, what we're doing at Recharge. We're trying to say not just the preacher who has all the time to study and whatnot and what can they do, but how do we get the person in the pew to recognize they are in ministry and to help them be more effective in the different things that they do. So I think that's important to realize. This is not just an event for a preacher. I think it has a broader impact than that as well. So Wayne has a couple of topics as well. Wayne's not with us on this podcast, but he's the third speaker for Denver. Caleb, you want to share maybe real briefly what Wayne is going to be discussing out in Denver next Tuesday and what he'll be discussing in the other cities as well?
Well, before I talk about Wayne's two topics, I want to talk about my second topic real quick because we passed right past it.
I was going to go back to that later, but
okay. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it right now. This one I think is so important. In fact, this has been like a transformational thing when it comes to my work, especially in church work, is really recognizing that every church has a context, and that context is generally the thing that generally produces the outcomes that you get. We focus so much in our ministry on problems and programs that we get fixated on those things, and we think, well, if we just get rid of this problem and if we just put in this new program, it's going to fix everything. But what I've discovered is that there's this unseen force that every church has, a culture, a context that keeps perpetuating problems. And it may be a different problem, but it all really stems from the exact same source. And so what I've done, and one of the things that we've implemented here in the work in Ripon and seen huge results, is we've really approached things from a perspective of context shaping and realizing that if we don't intentionally shape our context, we're going to be shaped by someone else's. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some very specific things that you can do to shape your church context. So not just, well, I wish things would get better, but here are some specific things that you can implement into your work so that you can start shaping your church context. So I'm really excited about that one too, and I really believe that I've got some things that I can share with people that if they haven't seen these before, that could really radically transform their ministry and their work.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff we've talked about that you're going to be sharing is really helpful. I mean, it's just kind of stuff that sometimes it's stuff that we just don't think about. And sometimes these workshops, that's what they help us. They help us think about stuff that maybe we haven't thought about before, and maybe not have the aha moment. This is what I'm going to share in mind is not going to be aha, this is the greatest thing ever, but maybe thinking, I never even thought about that before and how that affects how you look at a passage. Or in your case, you never thought about what the purpose of my communication is and how that might change that. Or I haven't thought about that maybe there's a deeper issue than just simply the problems that we perceive. That's, to me, is one of the benefits. Sometimes we ask questions that aren't asked as often as they should be, and hopefully provide some answers and solutions to those that will help us be more effective in just day-to-day ministry stuff.
Right. Well, let's talk about Wayne's topics too, because Wayne's got
about Wayne or just his topics.
Yeah, well, we should talk about him since he's not here.
That's true. We
could just rip him a new one. No, well, let's talk about what he's going to be talking about. Two extremely important subject matters that are super practical right now too. The first one is somewhat of what you call a hot button issue. I mean, I don't think it should be, but it is, which is navigating the intergenerational tensions in the church, and not just navigating the tensions, but how to use that tension to do something good with it. Because I don't know if you know this or not, Wesley, but there's generational tensions in the church. Did you know that?
I think there have been for a long time. Every time a new generation arises, there's these points of tension. I don't know what Wayne's going to say, but I do know the topic itself is helpful. And the fact of, in my own ministry, you're always, if you have a multi-generational church, which most of us participate in some way with generations beyond just our own, then you've got some differences that are there, and you've got some things you have to work through. And so I look forward to Wayne kind of sharing his, since he's lived through many generations now.
Yes,
he can share his wisdom on
since
those
he's so
subjects.
Old, he can definitely do it. I'm excited too. Honestly, don't know what he's going to say. I mean, he hears me speak all the time.
Do we ever know what Wayne's going to say?
No, we don't. It's scary just even giving him a microphone. But he's heard me preach and teach on intergenerational stuff, and I've written and talked about millennials and some different things, and come under some attack in some various places because of it. And so I don't know. I don't really know what he's going to say exactly either. I kind of have a couple ideas, but I'm excited to hear him speak on that. And I'm also excited to hear him speak on something that he and I have worked on together, some brand new material. In fact, we neither one of us have spoken on this anywhere. It's about using all of your communication touch points. When it all boils down to it, ministry begins and ends, Christianity really begins and ends with communication. Communication permeates every aspect of our church work. It permeates every aspect of our Christian walk, because if we're going to influence other people, we influence through how we communicate, whether it's body language, visually, with our voice, et cetera, et cetera. And so what we've done is we've talked about some things, and Wayne has really worked on. We've developed what we call communication touch points. There are all these different communication touch points that we have out there. We get so wrapped up in thinking, we've got bulletins and we've got our gospel meeting flyers and all these different things, but there's a million other communication touch points out there. Maybe not a million. In fact, there's a very specific number that we've come up with. But there's a lot of different communication touch points out there that oftentimes we don't even utilize. And so what Wayne's going to do is he's going to present and hopefully open some eyes to all the different kinds of communication touch points that are out there, and not just open your eyes, but give you some specific steps that you can take when you leave Rapid Recharge, so you can start actually utilizing all of those communication touch points.
Again, I don't think there's a church or a person who isn't saying, how can I communicate our message better? I mean, we have a message that we believe the world needs. I don't think anybody is wanting to do that worse. We're always trying to say, how can we do that better, more effectively? And so I think a class like this, or a workshop like this, or a time like this gives us the chance to say, I haven't thought about that before, or how do I use that more effectively? Camp in Denver as well, though, I think we've got the morning sessions. We also have some AMP sessions.
Yes.
Which I think it's important that all these locations, when we go to Denver and Oklahoma City and Monterey and Nashville and whatever else is on the schedule for next year, are these sort of local guys who will be coming in and talk about something that they're somewhat of an expert in for 10 minutes or so, which I think is also cool, because sometimes you don't recognize people in our community who have an expertise in a certain area of ministry.
Right.
And I think these parts are really cool for a couple of reasons. One, it's the information, that 10 minutes of, okay, this is good information. But two, all of a sudden you're introduced to somebody in your sort of community that could help you later on in that particular way. So absolutely. I know there's AMP sessions ready in Denver.
And I'm looking forward to them. I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely looking forward to learning some stuff and listening to these guys give 10 minutes of just solid practical meat on some specific thing that they're doing, that they've done in ministry that can help us do it better. So I'm really excited for it. 10 minutes sort of distillations of truth are great, because it's really just a power-packed sort of punch there, and you leave there with a lot to think about and to chew on. So these guys do a good job of narrowing their topic and telling you what's most important in a particular area that they're going to speak on. That's really helpful to me, because it lets me say, okay, what's the most important thing I can do in this particular area to help myself improve. So, and then my favorite part, I got to admit, the thing I'm really looking forward to is we're actually going to be wrapping up Rapid Recharge with what we're calling a lightning round discussion panel. So those are
bonus points, right?
Yes, exactly. You and myself and Wayne Roberts are going to be taking questions and answers via text message about anything from, just basically all across the gambit. Questions about
baseball,
whatever they ask us, whatever they throw at us via text message, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to kind of bounce some ideas off and give our experiences and try to give our best our best answers to it from the way that we see the particular subject that they're mentioning. But the cool thing about it is it's totally random. Like, we have no idea what's going to come in, and so I'm looking forward to just basically the ability to get these questions, these random questions, and the three of us to just kind of be able to sit down and chat about them. You know, you and I have talked about this numerous times, Wesley. Sometimes some of our best insights and ministry and things have come from just sitting down and discussing. And in the midst of that conversation and talking it out, we've come up with some pretty insightful stuff. And so I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to be insightful, but I'm hoping we'll be insightful and come up with some cool stuff.
Well, most folks will tell you that the conversations that you learn the most are those around the kitchen sort of table sort of thing, or around in a restaurant somewhere where you're just sort of opening up and free flowing conversations. I think there's going to be some good stuff said. There might be some bad stuff said too, but hopefully
I'm sure we'll mess up.
That will be helpful in that. So, you know, it's a full day. We're 8 to 4. We've got workshops, we've got AMP sessions, we've got panel discussions, and so it's one of those things where when you're finished with it, you get a full impact of what it's like to be at regular Recharge.
Yep. And then also on top of that, at the very end, which gives you an idea of what Recharge is all about, we're actually having an after party set up. So everybody's going to be getting together and heading to a restaurant there in town. We've made some reservations. It's everybody's got to pay for their own way. I'm sorry, we can't afford to pay for everybody's dinner, but everybody that wants to go, and you're going to have an opportunity to just sit down with you and me and Wayne and everybody else that's attended, and just be able to talk about the day. Yep. and just be able to discuss things over a meal. And so the huge growth potential and learning potential just in the after party, sitting at a table across from other people, discussing ministry and trying to do things better for Jesus. So really, I'm stoked, looking forward to the after party, and we're going to be doing this at every one of our events. We're going to be doing it at the one here in Denver. We're going to be doing it in Monterey. We're going to be doing it there in Nashville when it comes to you. We're going to be doing it there in Oklahoma City when we meet up with Wayne in Oklahoma City on October 13th. And so I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it too.
Yeah, I think that part of the not networking is maybe the wrong word, but that part of just camaraderie where you get to be with somebody. I made friendships that people I'd never make friendships with because of my time at Recharge, not necessarily in the sessions itself, but in the times we eat together and just hang out, and you build friendships, which if you're in any sort of ministry, it's always nice to have someone to talk to and someone to sort of share ministry stuff with. And so I think that's going to be another important aspect that isn't necessarily on the Recharge schedule, but it's still a part of what makes Recharge, what makes it unique. I mean, we purposely in our planning say we have to have time for these sort of events. We don't just want to be, you go from one lecture to the next. It's okay, we've got lunchtime for us to meet with people, and you've got plenty of time in the afternoon so that you can just enjoy being with fellow workers for the Lord, not just preachers, but just workers in general who are attempting to do the best we can to use our talents for God. So it's a neat part of it.
Well, I don't know about you, Wesley, but I'm looking forward to it. It's just a few days away. It's August 18th, next Tuesday for you and I. If you're watching this podcast, it may be after that, but it's this coming Tuesday. Yep. We're going to be flying in. You and I are going to be flying in early Monday morning, and then we're going to be going all day Tuesday, and then you and I are going to be leaving at the crack of dawn on Wednesday. So we're just flying in and out. It's a real quick trip, but I'm super excited about it. I'm looking forward to spending time with you. I'm looking forward to spending time with everybody that attends there. I'm looking forward to learning some stuff. You know, I'm looking forward to speaking and sharing some things that I've learned, but I'm also really looking forward to learning some stuff as well. And so as far as I'm concerned, I can't wait for August 18th to get here.
I'm ready to go. I mean, the tickets are bought and we're ready to fly out. And like you said, not just what I'm presenting. I'm always excited to present stuff like this to other people, but man, the AMP sessions are going to be great. I know you and Wayne will do a great job with your stuff. And so it's just a neat time to be there. And there's always that sort of thing that happens that you never expected. A friendship pops up, or you meet somebody you have a common interest with, and all of a sudden, for us, it's like, okay, I got a new friend in Denver, or Oklahoma City, or Nashville, and that's just kind of a neat thing as well to be a part of these events. So I'm glad we're able to take it on the road and just sort of let people see what it's like, and then hopefully some folks will say, this is really cool. What is a whole week like this would be awesome. So hopefully some folks will recognize that too.
Yeah, and if you're watching this, you can go to the website. rechargeme.org. It's going to be on the bottom of your screen there too. rechargeme.org/rapid. All the information about Rapid Recharge and all the various locations are there. You can purchase tickets. You can purchase your tickets to Recharge from there. And if you use the coupon code podcast, you're going to get a special discount. So if you go there and you register, you use the coupon code podcast, go to rechargeme.org/rapid, go to the particular event in the city that you're in. If it's Denver, if it's Monterey, if it's Oklahoma City, if it's Nashville, go to your particular city, click on the registration, use the coupon code podcast, and you're going to get a special discount that you can only get through this particular podcast. But all the information is there. All the information about the upcoming recharge next March is going to be up on the website soon. And so I'm looking forward to that. We're already working on getting all the speakers and all the topics and everything lined out for that. But right now, what I'm really excited about is our very first Rapid Recharge next October. So Wesley, look forward to seeing you next week and appreciate your time coming on the podcast, the Recharge podcast today. And hopefully it's going to be a regular thing. We're hoping that we'll be able to get this podcast out at least monthly. And so I'm sure you'll be seeing Wesley on the podcast, or at least hearing him if you're listening to the audio version. You'll be hearing him a lot more in the near future, because our goal, everything that we're trying to do with Recharge, is we're really trying to refuel you to do more for him every single day. And we know that we're accomplishing that with Recharge. We know that we're going to be able to accomplish that with Rapid Recharge, and we hope that we will be able to accomplish that with our podcast and all the various things that we're able to distribute to you. I also want to tell you, I got a brand new blog. Have you seen my new blog, Wesley? You see, I've launched it today.
I saw it actually last night when you sent it to me by link before you launched it today. So I got the preview link.
You got the preview. You get to see it before anybody else. But you can go to my blog, calebohara.com. No apostrophe. I don't know why, but you can't use apostrophes in web URLs or whatever. But you can go to my new blog. I hate writing, by the way, so you got to go check it out. calebohara.com. Be information on there. But again, Wesley, thanks for coming on the podcast, and I look forward to seeing you next week in Denver.
Hey, sounds good. Bright and early Monday morning.
Oh, I hate mornings. Adios.